Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Gizmo Joe. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you probably know that I'm American. However, I reside in Australia. And suffice to say, I do a lot of traveling, and so I'm constantly looking for things that can lighten the load when I travel. And I picked up this in front of me actually for Christmas, and it is a foldable Bluetooth keyboard. Now, I should say that I got this from Amazon AU. It is available on Amazon US, and I'll leave links down in the description, so depending on where you are, you can pick this up. Now, I got this one. This is the Ackhort. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that brand correctly. I've never heard of that brand before. So I think it's spelled like it, or I think it's said how it's spelled, and that's Ackhort. But obviously it's some Chinese company that I've never heard of. But anyway, this was the cheapest foldable Bluetooth keyboard that I could find on Amazon AU. Like I said, you can get this guy on Amazon US, but there's a whole bunch of other ones as well, and they're all roughly around the same price. They're around the $30 mark. Here in Australia, I think I paid about $60. I think it was on sale, maybe for $50 or something like that, Australian, which isn't too bad when you factor in the conversion. But as you can see, we just did a quick unboxing. There's nothing really in the box except for some instructions. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out. And it's basically got a charging cable. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then we've got the unit itself. So I'm just going to take it out of the bag here. And this is it folded up. So folded up, I think it's about 6 inches across this way, maybe a little bit longer, 7 inches or so. And I think it's about 5 on this side here, just roughly, just having a look at it. Now, when you look at the thickness, you're probably looking at about a little less than an inch, actually. An inch is probably about that, so maybe about 0.7 or so, something like that. But anyway, just as far as the build quality is concerned, it is all plastic. It's got these little rubber feet, so obviously when we unfold it, it doesn't slip and slide on your tray table or whatever. But other than that, it's just sort of a slab of plastic. I'll grab my phone in a second, and I'll do a little size comparison, and then we'll sort of take a look at the keys and all that good stuff. But I do want to mention how, if you are to hold this, so you can see here, like I said, it's all plastic, but the hinges themselves are metal, which is a good sign. There are some foldable keyboards out there that have plastic hinges. I would probably stay away from those, just from durability's standpoint. But I would have preferred sort of an aluminum body to this. But beggars can't be choosers. Like I said, there's limited availability in Australia, or the other ones that are available are just crazy expensive. So, this was probably the cheapest one. But anyway, when it's folded, you'll notice if I hold it by the base here and I kind of go like this, the other flaps or whatever, they don't come flying off. There's no latch or anything. There's no locking mechanism as far as I can tell. However, there is some magnets in there that will kind of prevent this from just kind of flying open. You actually have to sort of pull it open. Anyway, like I said, before we unfold this guy, let me grab my phone and we'll do a little bit of a size comparison. Okay, folks, so I've got my trusty Note 10. I know I'm still rocking an old phone, but I do like it. So this is my Samsung Note 10. It's a bigger phone, but as you can see, it's, sort of roughly the same size. So, I mean, look, if you were on a plane, you could easily just take these two devices. I mean, the screen's big enough on here that, if you had a little stand and you had your keyboard, you could actually get some work done. You don't have to bring a laptop. You don't have to bring a separate tablet. You could basically just bring your one phone, your little foldable keyboard, and you're ready to go. And, for me, that was a big selling point. So anyway, I do have a tape measure here so we can get some actual definitive measurements. So yeah, so that's about 6 inches across. So, and if we look at here, we're looking at a little less than 4. And if we look at sort of the thickness here, oh yeah, definitely less than 1. So pretty small. In my opinion. Are there smaller ones out there? Yes, of course. But the issue is the smaller you go, the smaller the keys are going to be. And I mean, I'm not a huge guy, but, I still want my typing experience to be somewhat comfortable. But anyway, I've blathered on enough. Let's take a look at this. Let's open this up. So like I said, there are some magnets in there to kind of, when this is folded, kind of keep it shut. But when we unfold it, you'll notice that we've got our keyboard here, no number pad. However, you can get ones that have number pads. But I opted for one that has a little trackpad. And it has some basic gesture controls, so using 2 fingers you can scroll up or down or whatever. But for the most part, there's no buttons on the touchpad. You literally just have to kind of tap the pad. So that takes a little bit of getting used to. I don't particularly like that. I would have liked to have a physical button to click, but that's a minor issue. I find that in using this, whether it's a tablet or a phone or whatever, I typically tend to use the touch screen anyway, so I'm not really using this all that much, but it's nice to have. Anyway, if we're taking a look at the keys themselves, there's a couple funky things about this keyboard. And I just want to point them out straight away because you can probably see it already. But notice how some of the keys here, particularly towards the hinge, are smaller than others, right? So you've got, sort of a chiclet, sort of scissor keyboard. There's a decent amount of travel. It feels like, any other sort of laptop keyboard that you've ever used, sort of those chiclet style buttons or keys or whatever, and a little bit of clickiness to them. It's not thin to the point where it doesn't feel like you're typing on anything. But notice like the T, the V, even the F, the D, some of these keys are physically smaller in size, and it almost seems to be like at random compared to the other keys. Now, what I've found in using this is that when you are typing, it is very easy to make mistakes because you're going to, tap that T and you actually hit the Y button instead. So it's just something that takes a little bit of getting used to. It's a minor complaint, really, in my opinion, because again, I am enjoying the overall package and the design. I think it's pretty good, but just to be aware that there are some keys that are different sizes, so it does take a little bit of getting used to. Now, as far as the comfort here, obviously it's not particularly ergonomic. It lays pretty flat because it's pretty thin. So again, if you're somebody who's going to be doing a lot of work, I can foresee you potentially having some issues with your fingers, your wrists, etc. Now, could you potentially prop this guy up a little bit to kind of give a more natural feel? You probably could, but again, if you're trying to travel light like me, then you probably don't want to carry around a whole bunch of extra stuff. So it's just some things to note. Anyway, like I said, this is Bluetooth. It is compatible with pretty much everything. So whether that's iOS, Mac OS, Windows, Android, you name it, it's good to go. And you can connect these things by essentially hitting the function button. And you'll notice here the Q button says iOS, the W is Android, although I think it should have been Windows, but anyway. And then the E is Windows. So, you hit function and you click through those and you can swap in between different devices if you have multiple devices. Above the trackpad, you may have noticed, basically there is a power gauge. Now, what's interesting about all these keyboards, and I haven't really tested this, is that they claim to have like an insane battery life, like 100 days standby time or whatever. I haven't had it for 100 days, so I can't really tell you whether that's true or not. I've read some reviews where people say, look, some of these numbers are inflated, and obviously you got to take all that with a grain of salt, but the actual usage time of these are pretty good because it's a keyboard. It doesn't need a lot of power, and so they claim you get about 40 hours or so of continuous usage, which, I mean, if you're on a long haul flight, then that's going to take you through your entire flight, no problem, on a single charge. The other indicators here, you've got your sort of Bluetooth pairing, and then when it's connected, it's solid, and that's pretty much it. So I mean, it's a keyboard, it's got some hinges, it's funky, but the build quality seems pretty good for a plastic device. And like I said, those metal hinges are something that I personally would look for. Now, folding this guy back up, let's take a look just quickly on, again, all around, there's nothing except over here at the top. Now, this is another one of my weird design complaints, is that this is the charging port, and the charging port is micro USB. I'm making this video in 2023, and pretty much everything I have is USB-C. I mean, even Apple has buckled, and all of their devices will start using USB-C soon. So, I recognize that this is a budget device, and they probably have a whole bunch of micro USB connectors left over, and they just go, oh yeah, it's cheap, let's just chuck those in there. But it's a real pain, because again, if you are traveling, you don't want to carry a whole bunch of stuff. So having like one cable that charged your keyboard and your phone or your tablet or whatever would be ideal. But again, it is one of the cheaper options available, so I was, kind of okay with it. What you'll notice over here as well, if I flick it around, you'll see that there's an on-off switch. So obviously you move the little switch to the off position when you want to cut power completely, and you flick it to the on position when you're ready to use it. The button next to it is the pairing button. So you would hold that down when you had this open, and if you held that pairing button down, you would notice that this little LED would blink blue, right? So just kind of blink blue until it was paired. The other thing I should mention about the keyboard itself and the battery is that, if it's inactive for a while, it will go into a standby mode. So it will go into like a power saving mode, which is good in my opinion, because I'm typically somebody who will get distracted or whatever, and I'll just like leave it here, and it would suck if the battery drained over time and I went to go to use it and it was no good. Anyway, let me grab my tablet and I'll connect the keyboard and you can kind of see it in action. Okay, so I've just got my Amazon Fire 8 Plus tablet, so budget small little tablet. I've already paired this keyboard up. It recognized it immediately. I've got the settings set up so that the onboard keyboard doesn't show up, and right now I'm just in the Google Docs app. So again, I haven't been using this keyboard for very long, so there's probably going to be some typos, but I just wanted to show you how this works, so just bear with me. So if I just say, hello, this is a test of, and I've already made some mistakes. Again, it's a bit hard to type, looking at this through the, the lens of my camera here. So bear with me. But again, as you can see, it is registering. There's no problems here. I have no issues whatsoever. Every key is working automatically. I didn't have to go in and configure anything, set anything up. I even can move the cursor around. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. But using the trackpad, I can move the cursor around. And like I said, you just tap the trackpad in order to place the cursor wherever you want to place it. You can highlight stuff. I can delete things, whatever. So yeah, I mean, look, this keyboard works pretty well. I've even used it on WordPress and all that sort of stuff. So it's being recognized by every device that I've hooked it up to so far. I have not tested it with my Windows computers yet, but I can't imagine there would be any issues with that. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know I'm not really an Apple iOS guy, so I don't really have anything to test with that. So I apologize if you are an Apple user. But overall, I think that this is a pretty good buy. Like I said, you can get this in America through Amazon for about $30, and you can probably even find it cheaper when it's on sale. Here in Australia, this was the cheapest one that I could find that had metal hinges. And like I said, it ran me about $50, but I want to say I got a coupon when I bought it, and it came down in price a little bit, about 45 Australian dollars, which is still a pretty good deal because that's roughly about 30 US dollars. So like I said, it's from a brand I've never heard of before, but I've been pleasantly surprised with it so far. I think the build quality is good, and connecting devices was totally fine. The travel on the keys is pretty good. The trackpad isn't super useful, but it's handy. And so far I've been pretty happy with my purchase. Anyway, I'll leave links down in the description if you guys want to check this foldable Bluetooth keyboard out for yourself. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you had a great holiday, whatever holiday it is you celebrate, and I hope you had a good New Year. And stay tuned for more videos. This is Gizmo Joe signing off.